Jeff Nichols' Indio tour is used to working on very, micro budgets. He has worked closely with Michael Shannon, who has a part in Bikeriders. He made movies like Shotgun Stories, Take Shelter, which is amazing, Mud with Matthew McConaughey, which I love, Midnight Special, really underrated indie. Last year, Loving, got Academy Award nomination. I think that's what sort of put him in a position to take this step up. Did you know that Jeff Nichols? Here's some things before we get into the movie itself. Because this is a classic case of I love the trends that this movie represents, whereas not liking the movie that itself that much. But let's quickly talk about sort of the trends around the movie. Do you know that Nichols was supposed to direct Quiet Place Day One, and he dropped out to direct Bikeriders?
I did not.
Isn't that crazy?
Time will tell.
I fucking love it. I love it though.
Tomorrow we'll know if that was a good idea or not.
It will turn out to be a good, regardless of what Quiet Place Day One does. Bikeriders has already been sort of acknowledged as like a successful indie. And so like regardless of how Quiet Place Day One does, I think he won the wager. But I love it anyway. I love that he dropped out of Quiet Place Day One like a paycheck movie. He's like, I'm not going to do Krasinski's trilogy. I love this fucking photo book from the 60s all about motorcycle riders. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do another passion project, but I have enough cachet to get a budget, to get a cast, to get fucking Austin Butler, the hottest guy on the planet, to be in it. I love that he bet on himself. I love that he bet on an indie. I did not enjoy the movie, which we'll talk about, but that doesn't matter because I like the trends that it represents. And I hope that this, the Jeff Nichols trajectory continues unabated after this. Joe, tell me what you thought about Bikeriders.
No, yes, and we want Jeff to succeed, but
we're rooting for you.
Let's talk
Jeff.
about Bikeriders. So here's what happened. Brett's right. Jeff Nichols, Southern auteur, R. Faulkner, he found this photo book of these 60s and 70s biker collective, a bike group, and he found those pictures to be very human, and he wanted to tell those stories, which I think is awesome because, Brett, one of my favorite subgenres of movies is biker movies. In fact, me and some of our buddies, I was just talking about a couple of weeks ago how I'd love to see, we were kind of getting hyped for Bikeriders, talking about how we hope this inspires some sort of return to biker movies and all of the cool things about them. So what I'm saying is this is well-trod territory in cinema, not in a bad way, but there's a tradition of bike movies in America, and this is our most recent entry in that tradition. So there's so much to build upon. So you expect it to be good. So what does this movie sort of focus on? It sort of follows the first hour is sort of the rise of these biker groups and sort of the communities they come from, the working class communities in the Midwest that Jeff is focusing on. And then in the second hour, it focuses on the decline of these biker groups as people come back from Vietnam and the culture shifts and these groups get co-opted by different factions and turn into gangs, and how violence is almost inevitable in these cultures. And that's what the narrative arc of the picture has.
That's what the movie wants to do. That almost sounds like the press release, though. Does it actually do any of that?
I think it does those things. It just doesn't do them with any narrative thrust. So just to kind of step back 1 second. So this, just so if folks don't know, this movie has 3 leads. It has Jodie Comer from Killing Eve play the Midwest narrator.
Marge Gunderson mob wife is what she's doing. She's doing like Fargo meets mob wife.
So Mike Feist from West Side Story and Challengers is interviewing Jodie Comer, is the frame narrative, and Judy is telling about the boys and the bikes. And Austin Butler plays.
I go to this bar and I'm like, what are these guys? Who are these bike riders here? And I'm like,
who are these guys?
Who are these bike riders? And I'm like, these guys are crazy. These guys are crazy. But this guy's really hot. This guy's fucking sexy. So I think I'm going to marry this guy and they're going to be part of this lifestyle. And maybe it's going to be fine or maybe not. I don't know.
Wow, you actually that was very good.
It's pretty good, right?
That's kind of exactly what happens. And this
I can do impressions of the 3 leads if you want. That's Jodie Comer.
I do want.
Feel free to summon Tom Hardy or Austin Butler whenever you want.
Hardy is right up in a couple sentences.
Okay, good.
Jody gets brought to the biker club gang by her friend, and she sees Austin Butler, who, looks fucking cool and hot as shit. He's James Dean, folks, with a little bit of an edge. He's good. So he looks great, and she falls for him, and they get married quickly.
He's so hot that I want to forgive Jeff Nichols for this. Austin Butler is so hot that his hotness is supposed to serve as a plot point. It's supposed to like where you would normally have to explain the chemistry between two people. He just assumes that you understand. Right. He just assumes that you understand why Jodie Comer gives up her entire life to sacrifices her entire life and future to be part of Austin Butler's motorcycle gang solely because of how hot he is. That's kind of what you're supposed to believe. And to be fair, I almost believe it, but I would love if there was a little bit of story along with it.
You kind of buy it, but she jumps into marriage with him very quickly. And then we meet more of the guys in the group. This includes Tom Hardy, who plays the leader and founder of the group, a man who was inspired, by Marlon Brando in, oh my gosh, what's that famous movie?
The Wild Ones.
Thank you very much, of course. In The Wild Ones.
And he's actually watching that movie in the beginning. That's what inspires him to start the motorcycle gang, which is apparently this is all apparently based on true events and true stories.
And I like that piece of authenticity that, he's literally copying Brando in the Wild Ones, and he puts this group together, and Tom Hardy, Brett, go ahead, please do it for us, is giving his silliest accent yet. I
almost thought for a second that like the screen was going to flash for a second and we were going to see Andy Serkis covered in tennis balls doing Tom Hardy. It was almost like if Andy Serkis did a mocap version of Tom Hardy is the character. Cause it's like Gollum. He's a Gollum. He's like a little Gollum motorcycle. Well, you got to burn it. You got to burn it down. You got to burn the bar down. I don't know what we got to burn the bar down. He's just very
Popeye.
It's like Popeye meets Gollum meets Bane.
Gollum,
yes,
meets the Joker. Meets
yes, it is
Tom Hardy.
The three leads, Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, and Tom Hardy, are each giving singularly bizarre performances that don't seem like they're in the same movie, and I don't blame them for it because that's actors gonna act. It's like the actors are acting, but
I think that they're gigantic swings are kind of the saving grace.
They kind of are the only thing that are interesting, but it also is, it's the saving grace in terms of just not falling asleep in the movie, but it is also the doom in terms of nobody seems like they're in the same movie and nobody seems like they're on the same wavelength.
It also feels like they all read the script and they all looked at each other like, oh man, we really gotta dress this up because this is dry.
Yeah.
This is dry. Because here's the problem with the movie. Jeff Nichols takes this very interesting American familiar arc, an arc that would remind you of Goodfellas, right? It's a gangster rise and fall, but with a bike gang. Good idea. And he shoots it, I think, very lovingly with empathy and crafts a lot of lovely imagery. I think the movie is very elegant and soft, just like I assume what he's trying to communicate thematically about masculinity and about America. But the problem is that ultimately these pretty images and these pretty actors and their big swings are a lot of sound and fury.
Yeah.
Because this movie goes nowhere, does nothing interesting, never ever is ambitious or tries to surprise you. It just plays the beats and it plays them in a muted, minor sense. The movie is incredibly boring. It's incredibly disappointing. And it's also not emotionally affecting at all. What could be more emotional than father figures and Vietnam?
It's all there.
And Easy Rider. And with a great director behind the camera and actors willing to go there and bikes and Michael Shannon giving monologues. And he's so interested in this photo book that he found. I don't know, Jeff. It seems like you didn't really know how to communicate what you wanted to say, because this movie is dry, and I'd recommend it to nobody.
It's a movie that like refuses to be a movie, and I don't understand why. All of the elements are there, but this movie constantly like de-escalates itself. It constantly like avoids its sources of tension and dynamics and things like where a movie would usually like lean into and go towards. This movie weirdly sort of shies away from. It never digs into character motivation, but it also doesn't make a point of like avoiding these things as though it's some sort of exercise in minimalism. And so you're just left with that famous Gertrude Stein quote, there's no there. There's no movie in this movie. There's nothing like cinema. There's nothing here. And there's 100 examples. I will try to avoid spoilers here, but like
I already
you already like
spoiled the entire movie at the top. I'm sorry, everyone.
Like, here's a couple examples of what I'm talking about. There's a moment where there is an attempted rape of like a main character in the movie. And in my head, I'm going, oh fuck, here we go. This is you just like these guys fucked with the like this is now it's all gonna fucking like I had that moment 3 or 4 times in the movie where I was like, here we go, it's about to escalate. And then it like the movie like ignores its own plot. It like doesn't like follow its own. It's like this like attempted rape of a main character, which should be like a real climactic turning point in the movie, ends up being this plot point that the movie almost tries to like forget happened. It's like and I don't know if it's because it's a case of Jeff Nichols being like weirdly precious about the source material or something, where it's like, just make the movie. Like, the source material is there. You got the leather jackets, they look like the people in the photos. You don't have to like over obsess about the source material. I don't know if that's what it is, but for whatever reason, this movie constantly avoided its own plot in a way. There were moments where like
it thinks it's doing so admirably.
Yes.
It thinks it's doing so interestingly, so that we all walk away and are like, oh, it was supposed to not really matter because it didn't really matter.
But it did not play that card either.
But that is just like a fake. That's just like a fake
Yeah.
thought that you should have. That's not how it feels at all when you're watching it.
And to the people who I saw a couple people online saying this movie was like had like queer themes and this and that. This is
every fucking movie.
Yes,
has
thank you.
Queer.
This
Fuck
is a bigger issue now, which is like, this is 2024. Okay, we are not in the Douglas Sirk era of filmmaking. Okay,
right.
If you have queer themes, have queer themes. Okay, we don't need to be in this fucking like world where we're like, oh, there's like a slight homoeroticism. Like, you can
these
like,
boys
if you
are
wanna,
friends.
yeah, if you want to have queer themes, have queer themes. This movie does not have queer themes. Okay, if you want to like read deep into it, you might find them.
Everything.
But it's 2024. This movie can be queer if it wanted to, and it didn't want to. So you don't have to like.
Men.
You do not like. That is such a like audience bailing out the filmmaker kind of thing, where it's like you're trying to find stuff that's not there. And again, this is not like, you're not Douglas Sirk or George Cukor trying to like not get blacklisted. Like, if you want to have queer themes in the movie, do it. And this movie doesn't, so it shouldn't get credit for it. But guess what? It should have, because it's right there. It's right there, and the movie doesn't do it, so it doesn't get credit for not doing it. Right? Like, what you're responding to is the fact that it's like there and it's latent, but don't give the movie credit for not making the implicit explicit, because it's 2024. We don't have to play that fucking game anymore.
But so, Brett, it's not even implicit. That's just such a reach. That's such a fucking
thank you.
That's just such a bailout. Like, Austin Butler's eyes are big and the boys enjoy each other's company does not a queer film make. I'm sorry, folks.
Thank you. But my point is there were multiple varieties of like a love triangle that were like right there at the edge of the movie that could have, and look, this is one example, I'm talking off the top of my head, but that's like a love triangle is like one thing that could have really sort of given this movie like a dramatic engine, and weirdly the movie like avoids it, and it's like right there, either a like homosexual or heterosexual love triangle or bi or some version of a love triangle is like literally, if you watch the movie, it's right there, and the movie like weirdly doesn't go there, and I don't know why, because the movie is in desperate need of some central dramatic tension and engine, and it avoids it at all costs in favor of this sort of like loose style, and I don't get it. And again, there's no movie in this movie is my big problem with it. And there's all the elements of a movie, but there's no like essential movie here. And another example,
it's a total bummer. Oh, sorry, Brett, go ahead.
Well, this is another weird one. And like I Googled this relentlessly to make sure I wasn't missing anything. All right, Joe. So halfway through the movie, this guy from California shows up called Sonny. And it's played by Norman Reedus, and he looks amazing. He looks crazy. And he's from a California biker gang, and he shows up in the Midwest. This is a Midwest biker gang, the Vandals, which is based on actual biker gang, the Outlaws Motorcycle Club, which is like the first motorcycle club in America that the Hells Angels and everything else came from. So this guy named Sonny shows up, and he's like, I'm from a new California biker gang, and I came here because I heard that there's this guy here that ran away from our club to join your club, and I came here to track him down and fuck him up. You remember this scene?
Yes.
And in my head immediately, I go, based on the name and the way he looked, I was like, oh shit, this is Sonny Barger, the guy that founded the Hells Angels. Here we fucking go. And again, it's another moment. This happened 3 or 4 times where I'm like, here we fucking go. We got some fucking tension in this movie. It's going to be Hells Angels versus the Vandals. And now we got the fucking Act 2 go. And I was so excited. And then a second later, this Sonny guy was like, I'm just kidding. And then like the scene like diffuses. And I was like, oh, you like actually were kidding? Like that's not like you didn't come here to like fuck this guy up, and so you're just here to like hang out? and then he's just there to sort of hang out. And then at the very end of the movie, when they do the Animal House flash forward where it was like this guy became this and this guy did this, they were like Sonny, and then like Funny Sonny, they call him Funny Sonny, was used to like promote Easy Rider, and like he has some like throwaway flash forward, and I was like, so that's not Sonny Barger? Like what? It was just another example of like, so what the fuck is this guy doing in this movie? Like I'm trying. I'm trying to like make this movie work in my head. I'm on your side. Why do you refuse to do anything that's like cinematic or heightened or interesting or like it's just like
it's weird.
Why isn't that Sonny Barger? And why don't we have a conflict between the Hells Angels and the fucking Vandals? I don't care if it didn't actually happen. This is a fucking movie.
It's a puzzle, and it's not like
so weird.
It settled into my body and mind as the week went on. I saw this 7 days ago. It's not like I like was driving and it flitted through my head again, and the images all coalesced to make some point. It really was just kind of a miss. And Brett's right that it just had so many avenues to take advantage of, whether it manifests in love or violence or some sort of conflict, but the movie chose none of those things.
Yes.
And Brett, the real bad news for you is this is on your fantasy draft.
Oh, fuck. I drafted this movie.
That's the bad news.
This movie.
I thought it was a great draft pick. I mean,
I thought it was
all the pieces.
I honestly thought it was like, because it was like my round 3 pick. I thought I had just picked up Giannis in late. Like I thought I just had like a late round, like absolute fucking banger pick. I thought I had really done good work here, but joke's on me, pie on my face.
So for new listeners, just to throw it out there, at the beginning of this year, Brett and I drafted out of all the movies coming out. We each picked our draft teams. We went back and forth picking movies that we think that we were going to love. We're going to rate them out of 10. We have to be honest. We're going to add up all the points at the end of the year and see who wins the 2024 fantasy draft. Brett chose
and
the
right
Bikeriders.
Now, let's get a score update. All right, so right now, it is I have 16 points off of Monkey Man and I Saw the TV Glow, 16 out of a total 20. And then you have 14 point you have 14.5 out of a total 20 off of Civil War and Furiosa. So it's 16 to 14.5. My third movie has come up to be rated, Bikeriders. Joe, I'm giving this a 2 out of 5. This is a 2 out of 5 for me. This was not a good movie.
Brett, yeah, I gave this one a 2.5. A 2.5.
Thank you for the mercy. Thank you for that extra 0.5. So
it's not mercy, Brett. That's
bad.
honesty.
That's
bad.
honesty.
2.5
out
of 5.
We're honest.
Yeah.
So that's a 4.5 total. So that gives you a real opening here, because that puts me up at 20.5 for 3 movies, and you're at 14.5 for 2 movies. Oh, fuck, Bikeriders. What happened? What happened? You know what? All right, I'm going to sum up Bikeriders this, and then we'll move on. There is a pull quote they are using in the trailer. And I looked this up because I was like, because I had this thought while I was watching the movie. I was like, yeah, it's not easy to be Scorsese. It's harder than it looks. He makes it look easy. He makes Goodfellas look easy. It's not that easy. And then I saw this pull quote in the trailer from IndieWire, the reliable IndieWire, that said that this is Goodfellas on Harley Davidsons. And I was like, IndieWire, fuck off. No, it's not. It wants to be that. But Joe, Joe, here we go. Okay. So fucking Bikeriders. They put Goodfellas on Harley Davidsons in the trailer. I went up and I Googled it. I found the review.
Okay.
And the review literally says, Bikeriders is Goodfellas on Harley Davidsons, ... until it stalls out.
There you go.
They put that in the fucking trailer. That's wild. That's some like Michael Bay fucking hijinks there. And honestly, good for you. I like the only good thing about Bikeriders is that like indie movies are like starting to figure it out. They're starting to like play dirty, play the tricks, play the angles. I love it, but like let's keep the movies good. How about we do both? What do you say?
Brett,
what do we say?
Do the tricks, play the angles. The movie stars the world's biggest movie star, Tom Hardy, Judy Comer, and it's about bikes. You know, it's a
yep.
This movie is such a miss. I am so sad
It's a miss,
that it was
guys.
such a miss.